What's good, y'all? It's your boy Mixtape Moth, and you already know what time it is. Today, I'm gonna hit y'all with my thoughts on the upcoming Verzuz battle between Onyx and Cypress Hill. So it has been close to 3 months since the last hip hop Verzuz. Yeah, I know there's been a little bit of a drought, but thankfully a new one is scheduled to go down May 14th. Two legendary and influential 90s hip hop groups will be squaring off. It will be an East Coast versus West Coast affair. Now, Cypress Hill is repping Los Angeles, repping for Latino culture and the stoner lifestyle, while Onyx, coming out of South Suicide, Queens, is all about the bald-headed and grimy energy, bald heads and guns, blah. This will be the third Verzuz to honor hip-hop groups, as they have been primarily focused on solo artists thus far. So it will be really dope to see two impactful 90s veteran groups receive their flowers on a major platform. I know there have been some fans who had wanted to see an Onyx versus MOP or a Cypress Hill versus Naughty by Nature matchup, but I'm not mad at this Onyx versus Cypress decision at all. Sure, there are some differences between the two crews, but they share a lot in common. For starters, they both emerged during the early 90s. Now, Cypress Hill came out earlier in 1991, while Onyx dropped in 93. Both of their debuts, or should I say their first 3 albums, could be considered as classics or the best in both groups' discographies. Both Cypress and Onyx made music primarily that was aggressive, up-tempo, and anthem-like. You know, both had songs with that mosh pit energy or that slam dance aesthetic. Also, both groups were embraced by both the underground and audiences outside of hip-hop. Yes, underground purists and people who didn't even listen to rap liked Onyx and Cypress Hill, especially Cypress Hill. Look, I know in 2022, Onyx and Cypress Hill aren't talked about often in mainstream circles, even though they still drop music, but both groups were popping in the 90s. Cypress Hill had a little more crossover appeal, probably as the result of their stoner anthems and the demographics that they had tapped into, but Onyx also received notoriety from heads outside of hip-hop, especially from their smash single Slam. And both Fredro Starr and Sticky Fingers would do the Hollywood thing and act over the years as well. And lastly, both Cypress and Onyx would collaborate with rock musicians, probably Cypress Hill even more so. And I'm not familiar with either of those projects, but I know that both groups did dabble in genres outside of hip hop. Now, when talking about catalogs, both groups are still making music today. In fact, both released an album this month. Cypress Hill just dropped a project with Black Milk, whereas Onyx just released an album called 1993, which I haven't heard yet as it's not on Tidal. No, I do not have Apple Music or Spotify. I'm not sure why they haven't uploaded this to Tidal, but I might just have to listen to it on YouTube. So Onyx has been working with overseas producers since about the mid-2010s, which is cool, as they're getting their overseas shine like Smith & Wesson and other 90s hip-hop acts have done. But I personally would love to see them work with American producers who are popping in the underground scene right now so they could get more coverage just like they did in the 90s. But I say that to say both groups have more than enough songs to compete in this battle. It should be really close, as Cypress and Onyx both have a mean 20 pack. To be clear, I'm not of the mindset of folks who think that Cypress is going to wash Onyx or vice versa. We need to kill that noise. Both are certified legendary groups with classics to their name. And if you think otherwise, it shows you don't really study these 90s groups. That being said, Cypress Hill's discography is a little more well-known and far-reaching after the 90s, as they had huge commercial smashes like Low Rider and Rap Superstar. However, I feel that both groups could easily stay in their 90s bags and have enough material for the whole night. But I also want to highlight how slept on Sticky Fingers is as a lyricist in general. Now, Be Real is far from a slouch on the mic, but Sticky Fingers doesn't get enough props for his lyrical abilities. The man is still dead nice to this day. But I think it will be interesting to see what bag Onyx will go into once Cypress decides to play their weed songs. Because, at least Bone and 3-6 had their own fair share of drug and drinking songs. Now, here's the thing. We ultimately know that these versus battles are much more than just judging songs, artists' catalog, their popularity, or their street cred. They are also about performance, stage presence, energy, charisma, crowd engagement, and vocal clarity. So I've never seen either groups in concert, as I'm not a huge concert guy, truth be told, but I'd imagine that both are well versed and well prepared in all of these areas, and it's not like either had any major static or breakups over the years like Dipset, Bone, and 3-6. The only thing that I'm really curious to see is how Onyx will handle the shit talking element of verses. Since Onyx does somewhat have a history of being hotheads, if you recall how they acted on that Breakfast Club interview. So it's not too far-fetched to assume that Onyx could pull a Busy Bone and just go off the deep end and get all emotional and ready to fight. In contrast, I can see Cypress Hill being more laid back and chill during all the roasting and the jokes, which ultimately plays into their mellow stoner aesthetic. Now, truth be told, I don't necessarily have a favorite going into this battle. And this is no cap. And this is not me trying to be too political or to try to have a safe opinion. It's just that I like both groups about the same. Like, I personally hold Cypress Hill's Temples of Boom album in the same high regard that I do Onyx's All We Got Is Us. But if I would have to make a prediction, I would give Cypress Hill the slight advantage given the vastness of their catalog, including some of Muggs' work, but I would not mind if Onyx pulled this thing off, given that they are kind of the underdogs going into this matchup. But let me know in the comment section who you have winning and why. It's your boy Mixtape Moth. I'm signing out, but be sure to hit that like button and please subscribe. As always, it's peace and blessings. My thoughts on the Onyx versus Cypress Hill versus 1.